Cricket Jack, what's up, brother?
This is it.
You know I'm going to screw up and call you Kenny, right?
I'm good with that.
All right.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, so
It's been a few years.
this is we're going to talk today about how to, as Tim would say it, average peckerwoods from West Texas both wound up sailboat captains. And so I got to tell you this, though. This is crazy. First of all, we got to open a beer, man.
Oh.
I got you pulled out a Ziegenbach, man, kind of a Texas
Awesome.
thing. And I am drinking holy crap, I need Tim here to do this. This beer. I have no idea.
Must be German.
It must be.
Well, my wife's German.
From Munich since, yeah, I married a German too. From Munich
know?
since 1363.
Cool.
It says. So I think that's a twist, is it?
I hope.
Right on, man. So my boss gave me this pen that also doubles.
I was wondering what you were doing.
Yeah, look at that. It's a Guinness pen. Yeah, I think my boss gave me that. One of the guys at work did.
That's freaking cool.
Welcome to the Van Cave, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so this morning I flipped on my YouTube. It was one of those days where you just wake up earlier than you wanted to, right? And I flipped on YouTube, and Weezer just released a new video. Now, they're one of my favorite bands. I've loved Weezer, since back in the day. And those guys are like our age,
Oh, yeah.
They're 50-ish or more. That's nice. This beer. Anyway, so Weezer's been in this 80s cover band thing. They've done Africa. They had Weird Al come in and double as their front man. Yeah, so it's
Really?
Weezer doing the
Okay.
video, but it's Weird Al like he's the front man. It's pretty cool. So they did Aha's Take on Me. And they grabbed up actors from, I think the kid from Stranger Things on Netflix is what one of my friends told me. I hadn't watched it yet. And so it's these kids jamming in their house, and every detail is perfectly 80s, down to the equipment, brother. I mean, down to the amps and the stomp boxes and the furniture. And one chick's doodling on the guy's arm, and she has the clear blue Bic pens with the little pointed cap and
Right,
everything. I mean, just nailed it.
You're
All the
going,
way.
I was there.
And that's how we met.
Right.
So I was friends with a dude named Chris Carroll, and Chris Carroll and I have been friends for 100 years. We played in Loudfinger together for a number of years. He's an incredible singer. Sounds like Glenn Fry. Great dude.
Chris was at my house today. His dad passed away.
Yeah.
So I grew up kind of,
Yeah, so you guys are from Stanton. Chris lived in Stanton. You actually lived in a little town called Lenora.
No.
Right.
It's actually Stanton. Went to school in Stanton. We were 9 miles
Yeah,
east of.
but like wasn't your postal address Lenora
No,
or
it was still
okay,
Stanton.
or close?
Anyways,
The highway to Lenora.
Doesn't
Anyway,
really matter.
I will tell you what I remember the most. We jammed out in there. It's back when I tried to play 6-string guitar, which that instrument and I we didn't communicate. I became a bass player.
Believe that because
It's one of those things that once I picked up a bass, it just took off. But you played bass. I was playing guitar. Chris was singing. We were jamming out, and
I think harmony was the heaviest bass ever made, and that's what I had.
Dude, that was it was a blonde natural harmony.
It was huge.
Yeah, man. Well, my Stingray back there, they're mahogany. They're
Right.
like that. They weigh a ton. But I saw that video and I thought, man, that's what we used to do is just jam in the house like that. And I was watching the other night, we were rewatching it, and my wife and I saw the movie Signs. Mel Gibson, like that. You hadn't seen it though.
No,
we talked
you
about
and I were
this.
talking about that, yeah.
And I said, dude, that is Cricket's childhood home, man. That farmhouse in the middle of nowhere where we always go hang out. And then another segue, we did an episode 2 or 3 episodes ago on shitty movies.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember going to the movie store in Stanton, which sucked anyway. They didn't have a whole lot, and we would show up late before they closed, and we would just have to scrape all the crap off the racks that was left. And one night, a bunch of us stayed over at your house, and we watched Steel Dawn and The Town That Feared Sunset.
Good Lord, I don't even.
They're horrible
crazy,
flicks.
dude.
Yeah, so both of those have come up in our movie club. Yeah. Is your headset loud enough, brother? Can you hear okay?
Yeah, I can hear fine.
All right.
Am
So-
I talking over it?
So we went on our careers. We kind of stayed in touch. You and your lovely bride came to a gig, and we just caught up, man. It took us like 20 seconds, and during a break, and we both own sailboats.
Yes, sir.
How crazy is that, right?
Who'd have thunk it, right?
Yeah, from two guys who've known each other for close to 35 years. We actually met in Civil Air Patrol, right?
Or did Danny Mulkey was
Danny
the
Mulkey,
one.
yeah.
He was the one who introduced me to. He said, "Man, you got to check this out." Of course, being an Army brat, I was down. You know,
Oh,
it
yeah.
didn't matter. You know, of course, my old man was like, "Hell yeah, he'll stay off the streets, no more racing," which was kind of true.
Oh man, yeah. There's another story. All of us with our cars. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's
Can you
different.
imagine if you think about this? We're going to talk about Civil Air Patrol in another episode, but it's kind of like ROTC. They had a cadet program. It's an auxiliary of the U.S. Air Force, and we were all cadets, and it's centered around air search and rescue. You know, finding lost airplanes. Really was then back pre-satellite GPS days and all.
The black box.
But yeah, I think about the parking lot of the Reserve Center when we would all show up on a Friday night. Can you imagine that parking lot today?
Oh man,
You had that Can-Am, right? You had that Pontiac,
dude.
and Steve had the GTO,
Right.
Cherried out GTO. I had the 72 Plymouth Scamp, the 2-door, like a Dart, right, with a 360 thrown in it. Mike Spencer had the 72 El Camino.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, the red
But,
El Camino.
Yeah. I mean, I remember
Yeah.
Jimmy
Jimmy Kirkpatrick had the Camaro.
Patrick, that's who it was.
Yeah, that dude.
Yeah.
If you think about it, how much does that parking lot be worth today?
Oh man.
Right, with all those cars, and not like we were going out on the county roads after and laying rubber or anything like that. That's pretty crazy.
That would never happen.
Yeah, right. So it makes sense that I would come out in the sailboat community because my family, I had family that lived in Corpus Christi. The first sailboat I saw was on it was blocked up in my uncle's yard. And it was a little, I don't know, being a kid, it looked like a cruise liner, but it was probably 16, 17, 18 foot little cabin boat. And I thought, oh man, that's so cool because it had everything in there, a place to sleep and a little galley and all the cool stuff, like a clubhouse for a kid, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so later on, I wound up in the Coast Guard and stationed in Corpus Christi for a while. And when I was on active duty there, I took up sailing and through the Navy MWR. And years later, after a lot of looking and shopping, finally bought a boat. How did you get into it?
The funny thing is a friend of mine, I've known him for years. He owns a office equipment place here in town, and we all went to the lake one time, and he said, "Well, come on, let's go check this out." Well, I'm from West Texas. I don't very rarely see water,
Right.
So he's got a jet ski and a 14-foot catamaran, a Hobie Cat.
Oh wow.
And he's out there, and I mean, he's got this thing. It's bouncing on one pod, just 6 inches above the water, and he's smoking. And I'm thinking, man, that's cool, Well, I wasn't in the position to back then. I didn't make a whole lot of money or nothing. I was scared to death I was going to break something. I mean, it really did. It freaked me out. So he said, "Well, go check it out." But, dude, no. I said, I can't afford to pay for that if it breaks. Well, you know how you read water.
Yeah.
You read the wind of the water and all. I didn't know any of that. He's got a jet ski out there, and so he's jumping around in the waves and all that stuff. And he's like, "Well, go take it out there." And the girl that's on the boat with me, she's 50. Awesome friend. I've known her for years. She's my massage therapist now.
Right on, man.
So
it's amazing, and we're going to keep coming back to this point, the correlation between sailboats and chicks, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I've known her for years. I mean, and she's biggest heart, love her to death. So we're out there, we're cruising, and I'm like, when you get that certain speed, you hear that hum.
Yeah.
You hear the hum, and you're like, oh, that's pretty freaking cool. And then the hum goes away.
Yep.
And you're like, hey, that's even cooler. It's quiet now. And it flips over. Well, I turned that 14-foot Hobie Cat over. And, of course, Gary, he comes on the jet ski, and is everybody okay? Is everybody okay? And I'm like, oh, my gosh, yeah. What did I break? And he goes, no, let's check it out. Well, a friend of mine, she had her cigarettes and all this, so everything is
It's all
soaked. It's all
floating.
just like, looked like the Titanic out there. It was terrible. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I said, are you okay? Well, she had slid from one side into the mast, which luckily she slid around.
Yeah, but those are just the deck's like just a net, right?
Yeah, it's just a trampoline,
right.
And like I said, I'd never even seen one. I mean, 4 people pick it up, carry it off the trailer. There's no boat dock
Right.
involved, so
It's all one piece. You don't put it together, right? You just put the mast on.
yeah,
it.
you just stick
Yeah.
the mast, you step the mast up, and you're good to go. And so, fast forward to the wreck, and he said, "Man, let's just get it flipped over and check it out." Well, I look back there, and of course the rudders, they're twin rudders,
Right.
so they're just trash. And I'm like, oh God, I can't even afford to fix this.
Oh, no.
By in my mind, I'm thinking this thing is like $1,000 per piece that I've screwed up, and this is 25
Right.
years ago. He said, well, let's just get it flipped back over. I said, okay, well, here we go. So we step up on the pontoon, and we grab the halyards and lean back, and it bloop, pops up. Well, I look back at the same time that we, upright it, and the rudders, bloop, bloop, they fall right back in order. I look at Gary and I said, you son of a... He goes, yeah, I thought they might be okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I was pissed because I was freaked out. I didn't know if I could pay for that,
It looks like a total mess when they're all When I was in the Coast Guard, we and we went to the Navy. It's just it's a recreational marina. They rent fishing boats and sailboats and all this kind of crap. Well, you had to get a license. You had to get a Navy skipper license to do it. And so you had to take I think it was called Mate A class, and it was all done on the sunfish. You ever seen one of those?
I know the name, but they're small.
Sunfish is 14 foot. And it looks like a surfboard. I mean, if you saw one, it's got a beam like this and the freeboard on it. It's like that thick with a hole. And the hole isn't where you sit like a cockpit. That's just where your feet go because you're sitting on the deck.
Oh, wow.
And it has a little gaff rig sail and no ballasted keel. It's just a wooden dagger board, right? It looks like a cutting board you slide down this thing.
Mom's done with this.
Yeah. And a little tiller rudder, and we had to learn in those. And of course, you have to with no ballasted keel, you're the ballast, and so you have to switch sides and all. Yeah, and I mean that's a special kind of sailing. That's harder to sail than what we're doing now. And I was talking to a buddy of mine who was stationed he was at the small boat station. And he said they get calls all the time. There's places that rent those little sunfish and lasers and boats like them around Port A. And he goes, they'll get calls all the time. Oh, my God, this kid just flipped a sailboat over. And no, he's up again. It's okay. Oh, no, he flipped it again. They're like, yeah, it's just kind of how those boats are.
Oh, he's down again. That's hilarious.
Yeah, man. So you did the cat first, huh?
Well, yeah, that's what, and the thing of it was, it got me the most was whenever that happened, I looked at Gary, and of course he had a shit-eating grin. I was like, you son of a, So he just thought that was hilarious. And he goes, what do you think of that? I said, I think I'm going to learn to do this.
I know.
So it really wasn't that long. I think it was maybe a year later. I went and bought my first 21-foot V-hull, slip 3, and I bought it for $700 right here.
What was that? A Vagabond?
No,
you told me
it was. God, I can't even think of the name of it now. But the hatch had been busted, and water had gotten in there, rotted everything out.
Yeah.
It was. I think that one was a 75, and of course, being in West Texas, they don't take care of that stuff.
Yeah, but you can trash a boat out like that, a fiberglass boat,
Right.
bring it to West Texas, and it doesn't get worse.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, that's
but
the cool
that was
thing.
the thing. But I've got a scar on my shoulder where I was in there cutting out all the sleeping berth and everything in there. Well, I got the blade sideways, and of course, in a quarter this small, that blade bounces.
Yeah.
So I'm covering up, ding, 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 so I'm freaking out. But I cut everything out of that boat, and we refurbished it, sitting in the driveway, and so got everything done with that one, and that's what took it out and went to sailing. Taught myself. I mean, I got the book for dummies, and I was like, here we go.
Right on, man. That's cool.
I just jumped into it. I mean, it's scary. But I mean, it was fun too.
Yeah. Did you knock that boat over?
No,
Now, was it a swing keel or fixed keel or what
it
was
was a
it?
swing keel.
Cool.
Yeah, and it was probably, I think it's 600 pound.
Oh wow, that's
Because
a
of what I've
beefy.
got now. I think it's 7 or 8.
Yeah, we looked yours
it's
up, and
pretty
it's
big.
a monster. I think mine's 300 and change.
Right.
So if you're not into sailing, you wonder what's going on and why they don't tip over with all the sail and everything. It's because the most of the weight of the sailboats actually at the waterline or underwater. And that's a big heavy keel that hangs down. And his boat, the one you have now, the big one, it swings. You can sort of pick it up and put it on a trailer and take shallow water. And mine retracts like a winch up inside. Right. And if I'm not under sail, I can actually motor in like 6 inches of water.
Dude,
and that. So
I'm jealous now.
But yeah, it's great, man. You go out there with all these bass boats, and you've got 30 foot of mast, and just slip it off. And I've done that, man. I find a good fishing spot, and I'll tell my wife, hold on.
Watch this.
Pick up the keel and douse the sails, pick up the keel, and go over there and fish. Yeah, it's great. It's like my Uncle Bill said, man. He goes, I've never seen a boat I can't fish off of. So how long did you sail the 17?
Well, it whenever I bought it, I thought it was, but we figured it out. It was actually turned out to be 21, and it had a. I did at first. I thought it was for the longest, but it ended up being 21, and it had a like a 5-horse. I mean, we're talking the old school. You know, the old motors that had the round covers on them. I mean, old school.
Yeah,
70. I think it's a 75.
Yeah, they're real flat.
Yeah. Looked like a.
Yeah, and you have to wrap it around like the cartoons. Yep.
Exactly. Well, we did that, and good motor, strong.
Yeah.
Well, I sailed that one for probably, I put it in the water maybe 6 times. But you know, being in West Texas, that's a feat.
It's 2 hour drive.
That's it.
2 hour drive minimum to get the keel wet. Yeah.
So I mean, but we had a lot of fun with it. The thing that got me out of that boat was, of course, it was different situation with wives or whatever you want to call it.
Wives' boats. Yeah.
We went to Allen Henry, and we went there when it was first being built the first time, and excuse me, and the water was great. I mean, it's a pretty lake.
Is that a tough lake to sail? I was looking at it on a map. Now I've been there, but I've never taken my sailboat there.
Right.
But it's kind of canyon and
it is very much canyon. Well, what it was when they started filling it, it was just a big V.
Right.
Now that it's come up, you have a lot more surface area, so you can get pretty good wind across there.
I've heard there've been some monster sailboats on there.
Yeah, well, for a 21-foot boat on that lake, it was about all you want to go because it's a lot of work, tacking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to tack back and forth. Yeah.
Well, we got off in a canyon over there, and a buddy of mine happened to be, he had a 14-foot John boat, and these guys are probably about our weight now, but they were 25 years ago. Right. So they're kind of, they were healthy.
Right.
But we got ready for lunch, drug them up there and everything. We went down one of them little canyons like you're talking about pissing a bass boat, making them mad. And so got done with all that. Before we went back the second time, we were supposed to meet the same girl that I dumped off the catamaran.
Right on.
She's like, oh, yeah. She was living in Lubbock or somewhere, I think.
Say, if you let them go free, if they come back, it's
meant to be.
Right.
Well, she's like, oh, yeah. And, of course, real good friends with my ex-wife. And so we're all lined out. We're ready to rock.
Right
I stepped the mast up. Well, at that time, they had generator side and non-generator side.
Right.
Well, they had also built the road up 4 foot. So
off the campsites back to the
get back down to the dock.
Right.
Well, I stepped the mast. I'm like, that is.
Yeah, just leave the mast up and kind of cruise down.
I shut the whole dock down. I rolled up on the road.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, because I remember this story. Yeah.
They put the whole new wires in there. Of course, we was there before it
Yeah,
all got.
so you had before you take your boat out of the water. You've got your mast up, which is probably 28, 30 foot high.
No, I think just 25, but
25,
way up there.
Big high mast, pole sticking out of the middle of the boat. So normally you can just put it on the trailer like that and take it to your campsite if you're out,
or at least
or just wherever.
Boat dock launch.
So you get out low light, and they've put a power line across in your path that you didn't know was there.
I turned off.
Oh, okay. Oh,
and they had built that road up, and so luckily nobody was in the boat grabbing.
So is it a bear line?
Well, I pushed, which is the bottom line. I think it's the ground.
Okay, so it was
it was full blown.
Shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I pushed it up against where it broke the headstay. It smashes down against the back of the cabin.
Oh.
I break.
So you just dismasted it and trashed everything.
My what do you call it? The solar panel.
Oh, shit.
Gone. And I spent, I don't know, a couple $100 on it, saved and finally got it all wired in and just trashed.
Oh, man.
And of course it did that to this mast.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there and my wife's like, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. And I'm like, no, it really sucks. It really, because I was really, really proud of learning this and getting ready, But anyway, so about 2:00 in the morning, 6 beers later, it's like, we're going back to Midland. Screw this, So it's one of those deals where there was no sense in staying.
Yeah,
I mean, there was going to be no
trash.
Yeah, not happy to begin with.
Oh my God. I tell you what, don't feel bad. We our boat, the Terlingua Sand, we named her. We took her to Lake Nasworthy in San Angelo. We have a friend that owns a lake house there with the dock and all that, and we just wanted to go hang out with our friends. It was around Christmas, and it was some beautiful sailing. But we set up, and when we launched at one of the Concho parks, I can't remember which one, up the river across from the RV park. So we get out there, and you know how it is with a sailboat. It's not like a bass boat. You throw your beer in it and throw it out. You got all this shit to do. You step the mast, and at the time I disconnected all my stays.
Exactly.
I didn't have shroud covers and all. So I mean, you've got to put this boat together, and it took us about an hour. Yeah. So we found a spot off at this park, and we put it together. Well, there was a power line that ran across the ramp. Well, not the ramp, but the little road to the ramp. Now it was the insulated kind that drops from the utility line to your house. Okay,
gotcha.
So it was one of those, and we set the boat, move it off the road so we're not in anybody's way, and we put the boat together. And it's like after, and it's tiring. It's a lot of work.
Oh, it really
crawling
is.
around that boat. This is my wife and I.
You got a checklist you go through in your mind every time. You're like,
dude,
okay, did I do this?
My mind sucks. Mine's written and laminated. Okay. So we did all that stuff. We got the boat together. She is ready to put in the water and start the motor. I mean, it is everything but the winch on the front. And I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm thinking, if I just roll forward like 15, 20 feet, straighten everything out, I can hit that ramp perfectly. Well, when I did that shit, I hit that power line.
Oh, shit.
Boom. And we heard a noise, and I looked in the background, and I saw the bow kind of clunk back down on the trailer, and I thought, holy shit. And immediately, I thought, I've dismasted the boat. I've screwed everything up. Well, I looked at it, and I still don't know if it hit the forestay or if it hit the top of the mast, but everything looked fine. It looked okay. And then I had never noticed the way my mast was tuned. I was second owner. The way it was tuned, if you notice, a lot of times, the harder your mast is, the harder you got to crank it to put that forestay on. Sometimes they have a little back bend to them.
Right.
It's like a racing thing.
Yeah.
Well, mine had that back bend, and I thought, the rest of the voyage, the rest of the little trip, I thought, man, did I bend that mast, or is it raked like that?
Right.
The way it was designed. So we had a fantastic sail that winter. I brought the whole boat home. I took everything apart. I spec'd every one of my stays, man. I measured them and everything. I've got the roller reefing on the forestay.
I love that.
And I took that mast and I rolled her around and made sure everything was straight. And I was okay. We didn't screw it up, but thank God the summer that we sailed that we bought the boat, a friend of a friend was killed when they hit a power line. It was on a small boat, man. It was like it was something small, 15, 16 foot.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. End result, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the same thing, and I'm so paranoid. I've gotten to where I'll check aeronautical charts of lakes before I sail. And we went up Concho. We went up the Concho River. And I knew there was a bridge. There's that pipeline bridge or something. Up, it's really pretty. We used to fish up there all the time.
I hadn't been, so.
And we sailed up there and we looked, and I saw that power line, and I looked at the chart, and I thought, man, it says we can clear it, but yeah, I'm not going to. So we kicked the anchor, had lunch, and payad back to the house. But
well, I think the major thing that really screwed me up was the fact that when we were there the first time, that wasn't there. It wasn't even an issue, you know. And as soon as it happened, of course, we were both in the truck driving around. We were so tired of hearing generators, so we're going to drive over to no generator side. And
like we've always done, no problems here. Exactly. Oh my God, I can't imagine that,
dude. And I felt everything just drained. It was like, oh God! I mean, and I knew what happened.
I killed my boat. Oh my God! I can't imagine, dude.
Well, when we got over there, I just sat back there. I mean, I was just pounding. Drive me home.
I don't blame you, honey. You're driving. Where's the cooler? Oh my
That's
God!
Exactly what we did.
So, did you fix her? What'd you do?
No. I ended up leaving the boat there, and I'm not there. Leaving the boat at the house, and we got everything. I guess winterized or whatever, because I was done screwing. I was so pissed. I mean,
I can't imagine, brother.
So we got everything done, and then things kind of went south with me and her, and then so she kept the boat, she kept the truck, she kept the house, and I went, bye. I mean, it just life happens,
I understand.
You know. And the funny thing is my stepdaughter and son-in-law, they called me one day. Hey, we need you to sign a title. I was like, for what?
Another one?
Exactly.
Is this for a kidney? What's going on, man?
I don't even own the house anymore, you know? So they were like, no, we, Mom, nobody wanted the boat, and, you know, we want to check it out. They spent $1,000 on a mast and put it back in the water.
Oh, wow.
And that same boat right now, I met the guy because I cruised down the street that I live on, and I seen it sitting in the driveway, and I'm like, I know that boat. The name had gone because I put it in spray paint, which didn't last. But I knew the boat. There was no doubt about the trailer.
Right.
And I asked him where he got it. I stopped and asked him where he got it, and he said so and so. And I was like, oh, that's my.
Yeah, I know some stories on that boat. Yeah,
yeah, I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
So, and now, so I know where the boat's at. But I mean, it was kind of full circle that I was like, at least it's
fantastic.
Still, you know, worthy.
I guess it's good that I wasted your tax dollars learning to sail. We had to learn on those little 14s, right? And that was fun. I mean, it was a good time, but you know, I'm like, man, I want to get to the bigger boats. They had Flying Scots, they had a Cape Dory, and all that kind of stuff. And so when at the end of the class, there was a dude there. He was a pilot at the air base. His name was Matt. He looked like me and was the same size as me. All right, so we're both 6'4". I was actually a little heavier back then. They fed us well in the Coast Guard. I was probably 220 pounds. This is a big dude too. And they divvied us up, put us in 2-man crews, and made us race. And we came in second. He fell out, and I was actually dragging him on a chunk of spare line, but we came in second. Well, after that, we could sail we took the skipper class, skipper B, I think it was called.
That's
skipper,
where you get your
skipper
certification
Bravo.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is an ASA 10 something. Hell, I don't know. They all.
I don't even have mine.
I have a hard time because all my official ratings on paper are through the Navy. So when I show up with my, U.S. Navy sailing log, they're expecting the ASA cards. Well, anyway, their boat was a Flying Scot, and if you have never been on a Flying Scot, dude, it's a race boat. They're a little open cabin, 19-foot boat with a swing keel. They are incredible. In fact, if just for what we do, the kind of sailing we do, being, you know, just dickheads
West
in the
Texas.
desert, yeah, where you're going to live on your boat that weekend
Right.
or whatever. This, for a day sail like that, these are rockets. And anyway, fiberglass hull, little cuddy cabin just for sails and gear, but the rest of it's all bunks and cockpit, and it was just a screamer of a boat.
That sounds
And
fun.
they're always rigged. They sit on trailers. When you rent them, they just put them in the water, and they weren't that busy. There weren't a lot of people sailing them, so we could just call up and go, "Hey, man, I want to sail this weekend." They put it in the water.
Where was this
Or Corpus Christi,
Oh,
at the Naval Marina. And it got to where people would come and just want to ride in a sailboat, and they'd call me, "Hey, man, you off today?" And I'd go down and take people out. Well,
Hey, you want to be our captain?
one day, man, after a bunch of sailing, and one of my buddies, Benny, and Benny was in the Coast Guard with me as a teacher. Benny, I'm sorry if you're watching this, man. I still owe you for this. We go out and one day after work, and I would tell my buddies, "Hey, man, I need a crew. Let's go sailing." So I wouldn't sail by myself. There's just a few things to do. That, you know how it is, man. I wasn't ready to single hand that boat. And Benny and I took off, and we get out there. It's inside the jetties. It's Dimmitt Point on the map. And we got out there, and we got everything all set up. And, man, I picked a point, and I said, "All right, we've got, you know, wind." Just the wind was right straight across the beam. And I said, we're gonna tighten up these sails, and we're just gonna haul ass, and we're gonna go straight this way. And it was weird. It had channels, and it's an old seaplane base, so there's these funky channels that you'll drag your keel in the mud in other places, you know. So I said, okay, we're gonna aim right straight for that stake over there. Dude, we let go of the dock lines, pulled in the sheets, and the boat just went right straight into the jagged ass rocks on the jetty. And I hadn't pulled up the centerboard, or I hadn't dropped the centerboard. It was up. So it was just a cork. It wasn't a sailboat yet. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out what I did wrong. And finally the guy, the director of the marina, came out and he goes, "Hey, put your centerboard down." Shit.
Dumbass.
Yeah, and Benny was like, "Dude, we just need to quit." And I was like, "No, I figured it out." So I put the centerboard down. We had a nice sail. So I worked out a lot of that shit. I had to replace the stem band. You know, there's a little chunk of metal right there on the stem that comes from the very, very tip of the bow, you know, all the way down. So I paid like $40 to the Flying Scott people, and they sent it to the marina. I got a lot of that shit out of my system before I bought my own boat. So,
well, see, and that's why I was so paranoid. I mean, I was freaked out when he said, "Oh, go take it out." You know, that catamaran. I mean, to me, it was all foreign. It really was.
Yeah.
You know, but I love the idea of it. And once it's really weird. It's like hunting or you know, I built towers for 7 years. Once that stuff gets in your blood, dude, it's like it's really scary how it sucks you in.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is really cool.
I love you were talking about that hum.
Oh,
man, and our boat does that. When you get it trimmed out and you get her heeled over, you know, sailboats will lean over a little bit in the wind, and the keel's cut in the water. Those sails are dragging you through, and it just makes that sound. Now, it doesn't go away on this boat.
Oh, it doesn't.
It just hums. It's beautiful, and it's a sight to behold. I love it. That's when I'm happy.
Well, you mentioned that. It was kind of weird. My grandmother, she was 95 years old whenever she passed away, but I took her for her 94th birthday or 93rd birthday. This woman rode motorcycles up till she was 92.
Right on.
I mean, dude, that's another episode or whatever you want to call it. But I've got pictures of her and my granddad. They're sitting on Indians, and I mean, they're really cool. You'd love them.
I'd love to see that.
Dude,
yeah.
I think I've got it on my phone. But anyways, she started singing whenever I took her out for her birthday. And she said, you know, the "I've Been Everywhere" song. I've been everywhere and done this and done that. And she's all, "I've done everything this, but I ain't never sailed."
Right on.
So I was the grandkid that got to take my grandmother sailing.
That's awesome,
so it was really cool.
Well, I brought with that boat, the Scott. You know, it's a race boat, so it's kind of like a race car. They're not the most comfortable, you know. And Corpus Christi, bro, that's the sixth windiest city in the United States. Wow. And a 15-knot day was relaxing, so it was pretty tough. So I learned how to reef a sail pretty quick. Well, my wife would come down and visit, and I didn't want to take her out because, number one, I was a really new skipper, And number one, I was a really new skipper. Number two, it was windy. And Corpus
And
Christi
it's your
Bay,
wife.
yeah, Corpus Christi Bay, it's only 14, 15 feet deep at the highest tide.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know
Except
that.
for, I mean, excepting the channels and all that. You can sit in the Omni and look out to the island, and there's nothing more than, 14, 15 feet.
Wow.
But it gets choppy. I mean, you'll get some swells. Well, when I was stationed there was a dude. He was a manager of like a Luby's or a First cafeteria, and this dude raced sailboats. And he had a race tuned Hunter of some kind. I can't remember. And he walked up to a bunch of guys. This is after I was demobilized and sent home, and I was just doing reserve time. And he walked up to a bunch of coasties at a table. They were eating lunch, and he said, "Hey man, I've got a race boat, and I occasionally need crew for it. Do any of you guys sail?" Well, they said no, but we got this reservist that's all about it. He won't shut up. And they told me, and I got his number. And this dude, man, he was the coolest race captain, man. I love sailing with this guy. And but he's a racer. So there will be water over
I
the
told
rail.
you that.
There will be water over the rail every time you go out. Now there were a couple of evenings we went out. It was cool, and I'd buy the beer, and it was laid back, and you'd tack the sailboat and hear the cans roll across.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Well, my wife came into town, and I think she went for a whole like reserve week or weekend, and I had a night off. I called him up. We went on his boat. Jody was his name, Captain Jody. And so we got on Jody's boat. And he had moved it to the T-heads at Corpus Christi. This dude had he had a friend that lived at Island Moorings. I don't know if you've ever been.
I hadn't been to Corpus. I've been through it.
Island Moorings is like a kind of a condo complex with this labyrinth of channels and slips. So, I mean, it's made for power boats. And so you have to come in, you turn left and you turn right, and you turn left and you turn right, and then boom, there's your slip, like a parking lot. This dude didn't have a motor on his boat. He did not have a kicker. He didn't have shit, and that dude could sail in and out of that stuff.
Wow.
He was incredible. I learned a lot from that guy, and that boat was super tuned. Well, he moved it to the T-heads in Corpus Christi, and we went out one night, 21 knots.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
That's smoking.
Yeah. So this guy had a sailing boner as hard as diamond. He was ready to go. And I take Nicole, bless her heart. This is her first time on a sailboat. This is wrong from the word go. And so we get out. The wind was blowing so hard, just the jib, the luffing jib. It wasn't even luffing. It was furled. It was all the way down on the forestay. It wasn't a roller.
I get you.
So it's just laying there, and it's blowing the bow over into the seawall.
Oh shit!
Right, it's got the rubber rail and shit. And never will forget, man. I went over there, and he goes, "Hey, man, secure that sail because we're not gonna be able to get out of here." And I walked over, and I was pulling that up, and the boat took a tilt, and I put my hand down, and my watch popped off and went in the drink, and I thought, this is gonna be a shitty day. So we got the boat out, we got in the water, and that's where where a guy like him, where it comes from. That boat is moving in a straight line despite 3-foot swells and this just howling wind, man. The sails are tight, everything's perfect, but it's pitching. And I told my wife, I said, whatever you do, she's gotten motion sick before, but just never really pushed it. And I said, just stay topside. And so it's like my boat. It's bigger. It's like yours now. It's like Cordell. And she said, I was going to go get a couple of beers. We had a cooler just down at the bottom of the companionway. And I said, I'll grab a couple more
That's
beers.
where they always are.
Yeah. And Nicole said, well, my backpack's down there. I'm going to put on sunscreen. So I'll go down and get it. And Nicole's down there for a long time.
No.
And she got pitched around. I told you I had a scar story. There was a bare bolt somewhere while she was getting pitched around underside. It laid her arm open.
Wow.
She still has a scar. So she comes up, she puts on sunscreen, patches up her arm, comes up with a couple of beers, and immediately she had no idea where to throw up because the wind's kind of coming from everywhere, and she barfed, and it just arced like all over the boat, man. Yeah, there's puke running down the sails and all over us and everything, and so we go back in, and
this is not how it works.
It's not how it works. So we go back to the T-heads, and as soon as we get there, she's wanting to help tie the boat up and everything, and I just get on the
Stop.
right, just get on the dock and just sit there. And we tied the boat up, and I went and got her some Thai food, which will cure seasickness. That is
Really?
a Coast Guard trick I learned. Yeah, we went right up to Thai Spice, chowed down. We'd do it before we'd go out sometimes on really shitty days. And after that, if I mentioned sailing, it was like that time you got really drunk on Cuervo Gold or something in college, and they mention it and you go, oh.
Or encampment.
Yeah, encampment. Yeah.
That's
Silver
another
Patrol
story.
story. That would be another 4 episodes.
Exactly.
So years later, that I couldn't tell you when that was. 2009 or 2010, we go visit friends in Manzanillo, Mexico.
Cool.
Right down on the west coast of Mexico. It's just directly. You snap a chalk line from Mexico City to the coast. It's out there somewhere.
That's
And we're
way
with these
cool.
people, nice folks, and a friend of theirs calls and says, "Hey, we're going to go out on our sailboat." And of course, Nicole immediately goes, "Ooh." And I told Nicole, I said, "Hey, let's go check this out because I haven't seen a sailboat under about 30 feet anywhere
Around there.
and we were at
Yeah.
La Punta, which is, if you look up Santiago Beach and some of those places, it's really, it's upscale, resorty kind of place. 40-foot, big salute, man.
Holy
She
crap.
was beautiful. And it was a married couple.
Of course, you're over there going,
Yeah. I'm going to tell his sea story, too. That poor guy passed away. He died in a sailing accident. He went overboard a couple of years after we went. But we go out on that boat. We sailed out to Plaza de Oro, the Gold Beach out there. It was beautiful, man. And put a drink in her hand. And I got a picture of her. And I'm going to put it up. I'm going to put the picture up right here. I'm pretty sure I still have it. Nicole sitting on this beautiful boat, barefoot on the deck with a drink in her hand. I think she has a drink. We bought some gorros, which are like, they're kind of like scallops. It's sort of a barnacle, but it tastes like a scallop. Made ceviche, beautiful. The inside of the boat's all teak. It's gorgeous,
dude.
nice people.
That's
I gotta tell his sea story, and for the love of God, I cannot remember that guy's name that passed away. It'll come to me. The captain, though, he and his wife were sailors. Their first boat was I want to say it's Catalina 21. Right.
Nice.
Yeah, neat little boat. And they learned to sail. Their first boat, and these are very wealthy people now. They've made their fortune. This was a giant boat tied up next to their house in Manzanillo, Mexico. It was a lot of money. But it was like a laser or something, JY or something, leaned against their house. Right where they were
Dink.
from. Yeah.
Dink.
And they graduated to Catalina, and they were sailing, I can't remember where, but it was near Ship Channel, and they found this nice little cove, and they went down to the cove. They sailed all day, and they got the hang of their new boat, got everything where they wanted it, got her all squared away, anchored in a cove off of the Ship Channel, and immediately went down below to make the beast with two backs on the sailboat. Being a young married couple, right? Well, they were interrupted mid-coitus by an air horn.
Oh, no.
A big horn. Well, they had slipped their anchor.
Oh, shit.
And I don't remember if they lost their anchor, if she was just dragging in the mud, but yada, 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 middle of the channel. Here comes like a giant, a 600-foot, or no, they're bigger, 800-foot container ship.
Whatever.
So they were out there buck naked setting sail. Yeah, so here's Captain Hook out here with all of his gear hanging out. And he said they were just, he said they got out there and they didn't have a motor or anything. So they kicked up the main. Yeah, their jib was stowed, and he said, thank God there was a little bit of wind, and they got out there, and he said, so here they are buck naked on their little boat waving at this thing. So
that's hilarious.
that was his sailing story. But after that, and listening to them, and I explained to her, this is the kind of sailing I'm into. So that's how we became sailors.
Right. Well, you've never really been into the racing part or anything like that. I mean, it's been more for just kind of
here's the
enjoyment, I think. I mean,
yeah, it's like a lot of other things. To me, it's sailing is the pace and it's the journey, and sailing is like hiking. You're not going to go fast. You're not there to just tear up the water. you get out in your boat. What we do, we put her in the water. If it's nice weather, we go out and sail. There's points on the map we want to look at. If it's a lake we're familiar with, we'll go check things out. And we get ready to eat. We put out the anchor. And you bring a sailboat to most of the lakes around here, people just come up and talk to you.
Oh yeah, that's like, hey,
shit,
they think you're millionaires.
Yeah, yeah,
they really do.
We'll throw them a line and raft our boats up and drink beer and go out on their wake boats or jet skis or whatever.
They want to check it out.
It's that pace. To me, there is enough bullshit to a sailboat that trying to make it go fast, I just don't need that much more.
Yeah.
Right. I'm worried about enough. I'm worried about keeping a comfortable ride, not throwing my passengers around and not,
well, that and a lot of times you go out, you don't know the lake or something like that, and so you're out there, okay, everything in your brain is just exploding, like, what if this, what if that,
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh.
There's a lot to worry about. So I want to get to that real quick because I want to do a comparison of the two boats. So after that is when you got your current boat. Is that right?
Yeah.
So tell us about the boat you have right now, because this is a kick-ass boat.
Thank you. The boat I've got now, of all places, you're going to freak because I don't think I've ever told you. I found the boat in Jowl, New Mexico.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to pause for a moment. For those of you watching, Google Midland, Texas. We actually have viewers all over the world now. And you look at that and go, oh, wow, that sucks. You're in the middle of the desert. Okay, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Now Google Jowl, New Mexico. And if just looking at the pictures don't make you want to eat the barrel of your pistol, yeah, you haven't seen Jowl, New Mexico.
Yeah, well, and that's the funny thing is because I used to cruise by there. I used to move rigs. And I cruised by there, and I was like, that's a pretty boat. And I went by there maybe a month and a half. And I'm thinking, okay, I set the slips. I'm stopping. I go down there, and I asked this guy. I said, and you could tell he was an old sailor guy. I mean, he used to race. I've got a regatta placard inside the boat. I forget what year it is. Yeah, inside the boat. I don't know if I showed you that, but anyways,
yeah, we looked at it.
Anyways, I told the guy, I said, well, what do you want for it? Well, he's straight off, right up. I don't want to sell the little one. I was like, I guess he thought I was scared.
Is there a big one here? Somewhere? Where do you keep that one?
He had two boats in the yard.
Oh, wow.
One was, it had 4, I guess, bunk beds, but it had a pretty deep draw.
Oh, wow.
And the one next to it's the one that I wanted, which was the longer boat. And he said, well, I don't want to sell the little one. And I was like, and this cat, he's got arthritis in his hands.
Oh, man.
His back's all jacked. You can tell he's not ever going to ever get the boat out again. But he don't want to sell it because he's taking it back out. I said, well, what do you want to do with a big one? He said, well, I'd take $1,500 for it. And I was like, it's a 20. I got it for 12.
Wow. Trailer.
Trailer. Luckily, the tires were about a year old. Had a 15-horse Johnson. It sleeps 5s. It had 2 mainsails.
What is that boat? We figured it out.
It's a Windrose.
Windrose.
It's
Windrose 26.
25.
25. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
26-foot class.
Yeah. Same thing. But and it was amazing. I was just like, I saw.
So 26 foot is about as big a boat as you can have as a trailer sailor. Yeah, or a permitted load.
Yeah, well, it's as wide as you can go without having a permit.
Right.
And I didn't know that at the time. I was like, okay. I hooked onto it with a truck and in the back of the truck. It's like, ugh.
Do you know what she weighs, like trailer
2,500 pounds.
That's
It's what it displaces is,
That's a big girl. Ours,
she's hefty.
Terlingua Sand, she's 19 foot and about a ton all up on the trailer, loaded with gear for the weekend between water and dog food. It's
the dog food. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, the cool thing about it was after it's all said and done, the 15-horse Johnson is about 5 horses over what it should be for the.
That does sound big. It sounds like he just bolted what he had to it.
No, he's like, I wanted more. I was like, what's it going to do? Because what it is, on the back of the transom, there is a mount, and it's aluminum. Well, you pull a latch, and it lowers the actual motor. Well, you pull it up and start it, and then you launch. Well, I've got the folding rudder. If you don't fold that rudder down,
Right.
you get your prop into your rudder.
I've done. Yeah, I got a story about that shit.
We have to fix mine.
Yeah. No worries, man.
But anyways, the whole deal was he goes, it's brand new, and to look at it, I mean, it's about $100 a horse, so $1,500 for a motor.
Yeah.
I'm like, But anyways, that's where I found it. She first time we took it out, it was a blast. I mean, like I said, it was something that I've learned to really like be a part of it.
Where'd you take her? First voyage.
The first time we took her out was Nasworthy.
Is this the one? Yeah,
Yes.
I cannot wait to talk about this. Nasworthy, Lake Nasworthy's in San Angelo, Texas.
It's constant level lake.
Yeah, and it is it's dredged. All the lakes around here are reservoirs. They're a dammed up river that's typically a municipal water supply or something. For all you jagoffs up north with your cool lakes, natural lakes, everything
feel
here
the
is
same
dammed
all year.
up. Yeah, and actually, as lakes go in West Texas, Nasworthy, they do a pretty good job of keeping her.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah.
But for big boats, it's.
But that's like I went, man, and I am super anal retentive, so I have GPS and depth, all that crap on mine. And my boat drafts 3.5 feet. So with the keel down, it's 3.5 feet underwater. So anything below that, I'll run aground. And it was like we were lucky to have 9 foot under that keel. It was between 9 and like 15 feet
at the most.
Yeah, and we got up to the deeper part. We may have seen maybe 20 feet. I don't think so, but yeah.
Well, whenever the funny thing is a buddy of mine had I don't know if anybody knows what a collapsible canoe or whatever.
Yeah, the fold boat.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's got the outrigger on it.
Yes, sir.
Well, he has a pregnant blue heeler with us on this trip.
Right on.
It's another horror story, but I mean, it was really we had a blast. I've got my son there, of course. He's being a teenager, 15 years old and all that jazz. So he decides he's going to sleep on the boat. Well, we go out the next day and it's kind of choppy. Well, he gets water on his boat and capsizes this little.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's not pretty. So we're dragging the dog out of the bow of his boat. Kid dumps a jet ski, starts gasping. We dive over the side. It's just like this. I mean, what can go wrong? It did. So they were probably 12 years old riding a jet ski they shouldn't have been on by themselves.
Yeah.
So we dive over the side and get the kid out from eating the prop on the jet ski. So we get all that done. After that, we're still dragging his boat that's sinking.
Wow.
We come all the way back under power. All the way back, and to top it all off, the whole weekend, I lost my credit card. My
oh yeah,
card.
lost your I remember you telling me. Yeah, I forgot that was at Nasworthy.
Stood up and he went.
Well, we had a great sail when we went to Nasworthy. Like I said, it was over December. We only been on that lake one time, my buddy's house, and we tied up at their dock. And I have a beautiful picture. I'm gonna put it up now. I have a beautiful picture of our boat at night after that sail. It was the only time I've ever sailed at night. We had gone through the lake during the day.
Did you go to power or sail?
We were under sail.
Oh wow!
The whole time we were under
nice.
sail. And we cruised around the lake, and then we went out at night under sail. And
that's cool.
I had just put in LEDs everywhere, so my battery will run forever on it. And I put solar like you did. And it was really neat because it was near Christmas, so we got to see all the Christmas lights and the lake houses. But we did, like you said, we were sailing only places we had been before, so it took a lot of the pressure off.
The drama is
gone.
So
the next day, man, the very next day, we go out and the wind is howling. And my friend Mike, he came out and he had on a Greek sailor's hat. He had picked up somewhere, right? My buddy Mike, he finds the coolest shit.
That's awesome.
And Mike said, and Mike has lived on that lake a long time, and he's had a couple of boats, and he said, I don't know shit about sailing other than I am fantastic ballast. And that dude, he stood in the companionway and he just stood there holding a beer the whole time. And I'll tell him, my boat has never sailed better than with Mike on the ballast.
That's
But
hilarious.
I want to tell you about my first sail. I kissed a lot of frogs looking for a boat. And I mean, I drove as far as Pasadena
Wow.
for I looked at a 19-foot McGregor, which is sort of a sailboat, sort of a power boat. They're really cool design. It became the McGregor M class.
Yeah, I think we talked about that one time. I think
Cool boats.
Yeah.
And this boat was so thrashed. I didn't know I could get out of the parking lot, man. And I was pissed off. And so I sat with my wife and I said, hey, look, we're going to raise our price point because not only that, I was ready to sail. I wasn't ready to recondition a boat. I was losing the desire to do that. So we went considerably more. We bought a West White Potter, which is one of the coolest little boats. It is just about the biggest, super friendly trailer boat you can get. I mean, it's a kind of boat that's right at home in a lake, and you can sail. There are people who sail the damn things to Hawaii. You know, and they're nuts, but still.
You have to be. But
so we did a little online handshake of the boat. Cliff Sykes went with me. We picked the boat up in Pasadena. I was gonna hire a surveyor to do a survey of the whole boat, and then I thought, nah, screw that, man. I was in the Coast Guard. I can do this shit.
I got
so
this.
I went all through that boat. I couldn't find a damn thing wrong with it. I mean, there was nothing wrong with this boat. Second owners bought it at a boat show.
Well,
And,
is that the one you have now?
Yeah, it's
okay.
it's the only sailboat I've ever owned.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought this was your second.
Nope,
but
this is the only sailboat
Wow,
I have
that's
ever been on the title of. And so we drug it home, but we stopped at Oak Creek Lake, which is near the observatory. And it's this little horseshoe lake, tiny little lake.
Lots of wind.
A lot of wind. And brother, I have sailed, before that I sailed on the coast. After that, I've sailed a lot of lakes and places. I have never been as terrified on a sailboat as I have at that lake. So Cliff goes with me. Cliff Sykes. He was on a couple of episodes, and we pulled it back in his truck, and we put the boat together. And the previous owner, you know, sailboats, man, it's like underwear. Everybody's got their junk just set up just the right way inside, you know. So we took her apart and put everything together. And I have a picture of that boat on the ramp with this thunderstorm brewing.
And you're fixing to launch.
Yeah, and Bill Martin, another guy, you know Bill, and Bill's going to be on here. And Bill texts me and he goes, dude, the weather's looking really shitty. You guys, you know, maybe not. All right.
We can do it.
And yeah, and so I told Cliff, hey, man, it's got a blue water hull. You know, this thing's made for the ocean. So we backed her off, put her in the water. And we were under power for a while. I got under sail, and the weather got shitty. Well, it got shittier. And it got up to 50-mile-an-hour winds.
Wow.
It blew
on Oak Creek?
Oak Creek.
Holy shit.
It blew so hard, it blew the sail out of the roller furling. So, like, you
wow.
know, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
it's rolled up,
exactly.
and it's part of
Yeah.
it. So,
well, for them that don't know, you might want to.
well, yeah, it's rolled up on one of the sails is rolled up on the mast support, like
Which
a
would be a
window
head
shade.
stay.
Yeah, the head stay.
Okay.
It's rolled up like a window shade, and so if you could imagine grabbing a piece of the shade in the middle of the roll and just sort of pulling it out, and it starts flapping.
Like the one that goes bad when you
Yeah.
try and roll it back up and it goes all cockeyed.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we were what they call under bear poles, which is all your sails furled and lashed down, trying to get all that wind into a cove under motor. And I've got a 5-horsepower Honda, and it wouldn't push. We put out the anchor, and it actually could not grab. It was blowing so hard. And we got through the worst of the storm, got into a cove, pouring, just driving rain. And we were nervous, but we weren't scared. We weren't terrified. The boat did really well. It was dry on the inside, except for us. You know, we were soaking wet. We came inside. And after that was one of the top 10 sails of my life, because we got out there and really stepped her out and stretched her legs in our brand new boat.
And that's when you go, it's me.
You
know what I mean? You're like,
I got a
did
picture.
this.
I'll put that picture up. Cliff took it from the companionway, and I'm soaked to the bone, just sailing that boat. So after that,
You know.
got my wife on board and the dog, and we've done a lot of sailing since then. The only time I've ever broached, which is where the wind blows so hard, or you screw it up, you don't have it trimmed right in a high wind, that it tries to literally blow the boat over. Our boat tends to what they call round up and just sort of point into the wind. So it's kind of like a spin out.
Yeah, well, if you let go of the tiller, it'll do that.
Yeah,
most of the time,
and it's terrifying. But I've
especially
done that.
not ready.
We did that on Oak Creek.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, for a little tiny lake, man, we've had some terror, but we spent a lot of time there because it's close. It's 2 hours.
Well, not only that, it's for the size of boat and the water you draw, you can't. I mean, you can't beat it.
No,
I mean, because
no.
there's some wind there. You better learn to sail.
Yeah, well, like you were talking about reading the water. That's where I learned because you can the Oak Creek is horseshoe shaped. Okay, and it has a prevailing wind, southerly wind. It's a lake in the middle of a bunch of wind turbines. It's a wind turbine farms. So the wind will come one way, and it'll come through the little river canyon that forms the lake, and then it'll sort of bend. So you have to be ready for that, and it kind of fluctuates. But since then, we've sailed Canyon Lake, we've sailed Lake Buchanan.
That's a pretty lake.
And a lot of other places. And Buchanan is the most like sailing saltwater I've ever done.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's nice.
Well,
and
everybody says, "Well, you got to go to what's the big lake down south? It's by the border."
Del Rio.
Yeah. No. Amistad.
Amistad and Del Rio.
I'm like,
yeah, Del Rio is the town. Amistad's the lake.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, no. I don't need to go down there. I have a big lake here that's way closer.
Yeah.
I have to get shot at.
Yeah. We one thing that's happened with the federal lakes is during the drought, Lake Meredith up in the Panhandle had some enormous boats. There's a video of them pulling huge boats out. They're using a crane pull these giant boats out, giant keel boats.
Well, you know that Meredith is one of the ones that has one of the biggest undertows there is in Texas.
No, I didn't know that.
See,
really.
and the only reason I know that's because there's a buddy of mine lives up around that way, and he's like, dude, you don't want to, unless you really know your shit, you don't want to get out there.
Well, see, that lake dried up. Part of Canyon Lake got flooded in 2013 or so, or 12. Wiped out some of the federal parks. And Meredith, the contractors, Del Rio too, like all the marinas and things like that, are civilian contracted, and they all moved away. I mean, they couldn't make any money, so they were gone. So the federal parks are collecting money on slips, and they have moorings at Amistad. They have these big ass houseboats that are under mooring, and you have to pay the government now, but they won't rent slips out. Well, it's all rocks, so you can't beach a small boat. Like you wouldn't want to beach your boat anyway. Well, hell, it's got a rock bottom. So and rock beaches, so you wouldn't want to moor a boat or beach one.
Right.
So what the hell do you do? And I called them, and there's a bridge, the high bridge, and I said, well, in the new bridge, and I said, hey, how high is the bridge off the water? And they go, well, nobody's ever asked us that.
Really?
Yeah.
So nobody's taking sailboats down there, in other words.
Well, there are a lot of sailboats, and there are videos of people sailing, and I looked them up. There were boats going under the bridges that were bigger than mine. So I looked up the boats, and this is how anal retentive I am. I looked up the boats. I looked at when the video was shot, and I compared the water levels to what it is when we were looking at going. We went to Canyon Lake. I grew up. My cousin lived there, my Uncle Frank.
Oh, okay. So you got
all them,
there.
Yeah. So I'm going to link in the description the video we shot at Canyon Lake. Beautiful place to go. I mean, it's a lot of rock, but it was gorgeous sailing. And we went from dead calm, where we were getting a knot or two, didn't care, having a great time, to 28 knots, I think, was the worst we saw. And that is absolutely, I mean, that's work.
Well, yeah, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But that's one of those deals where I took my sister. Was the last time that we took the boat out. I think it was summer before last. I took my sister and my niece and nephew. Well, all they want, the kids, they don't care about nothing. Get on the boat, jump off, get on the boat,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it's one of those deals for my sister. My brother-in-law is 6'6". He's a DPS officer. And he just laid back. He doesn't care.
Right.
Well, he's actually a bomb squad dog handler.
Right.
And my sister, you know her.
Yeah,
from back in the day.
I think we went to homecoming together or something like that.
I think
yeah,
it was. I
she
forgot
is
about that.
She is an angel of a person. Yeah,
Well,
she's a sweetheart.
she's been she was a teacher for 15 or 16 years, and
Yeah.
now she's got her own school where
Right.
she's the top. Yeah, what do they call them, HNGs or
HMFIC. Yeah.
But anyway,
I
no,
don't think they
she's
call them that in schools. but,
probably
yeah.
not. But she loves it. But I mean, you couldn't ask for better people to be together or whatever. The funny thing is the kids. We had a little. I think it was a 9-foot, 10-foot dinghy, a little flat bottom john boat. We took them to and from the shore so they wouldn't
Yeah.
get wet. And whenever we went sailing, it was like after we went to Buchanan or Buchanan, however you say it.
It's Buchanan to me, but I'm kind of I'm half
if you know the
redneck.
old school guys, you know.
Yeah. Wow, that's Lake Buchanan.
Yeah.
The guys that say why, they call it Buchanan.
Yeah.
Wow, that's Lake Buchanan. Yeah.
Why? That's pretty good. I never thought about that, but you're right. Anyway, we went out there. Of course, we had a good time and all that. Well, she didn't realize that lake was as close as it is to where she lives. It's about an hour away.
Yeah.
And there's I guess cabins or something like that.
Dude, yeah, there's all kinds of shit.
She
we
researched
stayed
that.
at Thunderbird. Yeah.
She researched that and she goes, "Oh, we've been like 3 times since y'all was here." I was like, you know.
Yeah. Well, when we were looking for a place to sail in October, I wanted to go Austin or something, and I thought, well, if we've been to Canyon Lake, let's check out Buchanan because I heard it's a really good sailing
It's
lake.
a nice lake.
And I get to look it online, and I found Thunderbird Lodge, and it's another one that they're just now coming back from the drought.
Okay.
You know, so a lot of the resorts didn't make it, and a lot of the
there's just no money in it.
yeah.
They couldn't survive.
And so I get to looking, and this place has rooms. It's got cabins and it has rooms, and it has slips. So it has boat slips, right, with power. So I can charge my battery overnight. And so I get to looking at this, and I thought, all right, well, I wonder how deep it is under that slip. And so Google Earth, man, geek. This is all I do. I mean, I do stuff like this at work all day, internet research.
You're such a techie
yeah, I
geek.
know, man. So I get on Google Earth and I zoom in. There's a 32-foot yawl slipped up there.
Wow.
Yeah, 32 foot. And it's a beautiful, beautiful boat. And so we rented a slip there, and we went out. The first day we go out, this is my wife and her sister. And we sailed out, and dude, I have never since I was in the Coast Guard and sailing on the Gulf and in Corpus Christi Bay, never had I just trimmed the sails and sailed a heading as long as I had that day, because that is a huge lake.
Yeah, that's
it is an enormous lake.
well. And the cool thing of it is if you're set up and there's not bad weather. We had to outrun a couple of rainstorms whenever we were there, and the kids are like, "We want to stop." I'm like, "Do you not see this cloud right here? You know, we're gonna drown." You know.
Well, it's funny you mention that because we had that beautiful sail that day. We sailed out to the lighthouse, and
I don't even know where that's at.
When you pass the lake, you'll see a lighthouse, and it's where the dam is and all this stuff. And we cruised by there, and we're trimmed out. We're making 4 or 5 knots, having a great day. Yeah, it was cool. I got to take a leak. One of the girls takes the tiller. No big deal. I don't think I touched the sheets all day.
That's cool.
So we go back. We tie up. We get up the next morning, and we took off. And you remember the biblical flooding that Texas had? This is the day it started, dude.
Right.
And it was weird. And this happens in salt water, where you'll get out, and if you're like me and you don't really know what you're doing, maybe you know some guys that know a lot and you've done some reading, and you go, this water is way too shitty for this wind. There's something not right.
I shouldn't be here.
Yeah, well, it was getting bad. We sailed out, and then it got really windy, and we sailed out to it's called Garrett Island. It's an island on the lake.
Oh yeah, I think you were telling me about that.
Yeah, we beached up, and we beached up in a nice calm spot. Put out the shore spike and cooked lunch on the beach. sip some wine. Man, we had a great time. Dog didn't want to get back on board. I got a picture of the wife dragging the dog back on. And then that storm hit, and holy hell, man. It was like a freaking movie. It was like watching All This Lost, trying to get back.
The deadliest or the perfect storm.
Yeah, perfect storm. My God, it sucked. We got some great video, like water coming over the bow and shit like that. But,
wow.
But yeah, it was. You get on those big lakes, and
it's one of those things that make you go, I'm this big.
Yeah,
and you realize it real quick.
Son of a bitch! When I backed this thing off the trailer, I knew what I was doing, man. So, but that's the deal, man. Sailing is, and I don't. I understand. Like I hung out with a buddy of mine that has a wakeboard boat. They ballast out and they cut the big hole in the water and you surf on it.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, it's cool. He was telling me about that. I like surfing, and I've surfed.
But my knees are shot, so I can't anymore.
That sounds way cooler to surf that way. I've done the skiing. I've been on the big like 87-foot cutters. You know, shit, man, those are blast. I've been on the ribs that are stowed in the cutters, and I've been on the 47-foot, and I've been on the 41-foot Coast Guard boats, and I've been on a billion bass boats. They're all great, man. A sailboat is an organism, dude. It's
something you have to become part of.
Yeah.
I mean, you feel, you know, and to me, the funny thing is every boat is different. I don't care, you know, how many times you've done it. It's that boat, and you're like, all right, this is where we're at. This is sweet. She knows where we need to be. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things.
Yeah, they are, man. They're so organic, and it gets to where I remember just when you're barefoot walking across the deck.
Well, see, we don't do that on my boat because you break a toe, we're not going 25 miles back to the
you know,
hospital.
I'll wear those little stupid 5-finger things, you know, on board, but you could just walk across the deck and you can feel it, you know, and you can feel when she's not happy, when she is, and,
you know,
yeah,
it's actually cool.
Yeah,
I think one of the biggest things is whenever I turned that catamaran over and my head went snap. I'm gonna learn this bitch.
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
yeah.
It's something that whenever you get the bug, you have the bug, and there's no way to get out of it. It's like riding a motorcycle. You know, you do that too. I ride my bike too, but it's one of those things. Whenever you get there, it's like, oh man, dude, did you feel that?
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy. I mean, it is neat. It's a thrill to scream across the water at 50 or 60 miles an hour, but it's just something about, man, when all those lines are tight, you know, you're sheeted in, and you look up and everything's trimmed perfectly, and all your telltales are straight line. You're going, man, this is beautiful, and you're pulling 6 knots, and and pop a beer, and off you go, man.
Do, you know?
Yeah, it's great. I was telling my wife, I knew we were in tight when, you know, sailboats heel over, you know, so the wind blows and she'll lean one way or the other. So we had heeled over, and I looked in the cabin. And Macy, our dog, she's in the V berth, which is the whole front of our boat, like the nose, is this triangular-shaped bed.
Right.
So it's a V berth. And she was laying there, all 4 legs in the air, just tits up. And she's up against, you know, the side of the boat, the gunnel in the rack. So she's like in a little hammock. And we sail like that for a way, and she's sleeping with her feet up. And then we tacked the boat the other way. So as we tacked it, she rolled back over and walked around to the other side of the boat and got in the same position. And I thought, we're officially a sailing.
Are we done, Dad?
Yeah, we're officially a sailing family. So that was a pretty cool time.
It's pretty crazy because on my boat, the hatch actually, it raises up, and you put 2 stays in there, and so when you walk down in through the passageway, through the passageway, companionway.
Yeah.
There we go. When you walk down through there, it gives you more headroom. Well, you and I are pretty tall guys. Without that, damn.
Yeah, you would
knock your head off.
So his boat is like a pop top. It comes up. Mine, you just have to take it off and find some thing to do with.
So I haven't.
Mine's a pain in the ass. I mean, it's open or it's closed. There's nothing in the middle, right. And it's got that hinge, and it's really awkward. Normally what we do is we take the companionway, we put it on that V berth, and then throw like towels and
make sure it doesn't
sleeping
bags
and shit.
Yeah,
because you don't want to scratch anything. and the dog will sleep on it and all. But yeah, yours has the
It's got the
companionway
lift
that
on the
pops
top,
up.
which it pops forward towards
Yeah.
towards the bow.
That's really cool.
And you put the stays in there or the whatever. And it's funny because Skits, he's probably
Is that the Schnauzer?
no, that's my other, the one who adopted me.
Oh, yeah.
The Schnauzer's Rocky, but
Right.
he loves the boat too. But Skits, he's like what's your dog?
Schnauzer? Macy?
Macy. Okay.
Yeah.
True Blake. But anyways, he's on top of the cabin, but there's
Right.
this little sun cover. He has no fur, so he's just chilling.
Right.
But we go to tack and roll over. He'll look over there at me and see which way that tiller's pointed. Get up
Right
and
on, man.
And leans against the. It's just too funny, and they learn.
They do, yeah. Macy, she doesn't really dig the boat, but she likes being with us.
Yeah,
so.
and so it's a sacrifice she's willing to make.
Yeah, man. So tell me about the name of your boat. Tell me about that.
This Cordell came about from my grandmother, and it was funny because I was looking for a name that meant something to me, because you're not supposed to change the name of a boat whenever you get it.
You have to do a ceremony.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because we did that.
Well,
yeah.
and see, that's what I screwed up with my first boat, because I didn't do the ceremony, and that's what ended up with the mast.
I'm not a superstitious man,
I'm not
but
either.
You do not screw with old sailor.
No,
tales.
you don't.
No. Yeah.
Well, and the whole thing was I've got a picture. I'll show you. It's on my phone. We'll get it so you can put it in the credits or whatever. But it's my grandmother and my oldest boy and me standing there in front of her house with Cordell written on it. And she's standing there on one side of the name. I'm standing there on the other side of the name, and it shows the whole boat. It's
right
really
on.
A cool picture. But I named it after her because it was something that, and this was before I even took her sailing. It's something that my grandparents had always meant a lot to me, and taught me a lot and all that stuff. And my mom, she was like, "You did what?" And besides, it's just a cool name,
Yeah,
Cordell.
it is,
I mean, it
man.
sounds seaworthy, doesn't it?
We're gonna name her a good boat name. This is
Arr,
a fun.
But I mean, and after I showed my grandma that, she was like, "Well, that's kind of cool." And then she got to talking to my mom about it. Didn't think I was around, and she kind of got a little tear in her eye. So that was kind of cool,
Well, ours had a different name, and it shall not be spoken. That's part of the tradition.
Exactly.
But it was a cool name. It wasn't particularly meaningful to the original owner. It was the
that makes a big
name
difference.
of the town his grandfather was from, which is weird, but they named it. We have struck the name and, the ceremony and all that shit. But she was named the Terlingua Sand. And
Well, now, how did you come up with that? I mean,
so Terlingua, Texas, it's just an unusual place, man. And we're doing an entire episode on Terlingua.
oh, that's cool. That's way cool.
We are, I think we're at episode 6. And I'm about to release 5, and I have to go out of town for a little while, so I'm kind of banking up episodes.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But the last episode we've talked about destinations in West Texas, places to hang out. One of them was Terlingua. Well, my wife and I, we started dating kind of in Terlingua.
Oh, okay.
And we got married in Lajitas, which is just outside of Terlingua. Yeah.
Big barbecue.
But that's where the chili cook-off is in Terlingua. Yeah. But the thing is, the sand in Terlingua is it's a really fine powdery sand, but there is something about just the mentality in Terlingua that is the most laid back place in the world. Like, people will get up and sweat their ass off in the most miserable desert heat to get their job done, so they can sit in a lawn chair and watch the sunset in that place. So
and have a cold beer.
There was Terlingua was kind of a famous place for musicians, and it's a neat place. I've jammed there a lot, and then I toured through there with a couple of bands I was in.
Oh, that's cool.
And there was a local musician. It's been lost to antiquity, but she had a song called Terlingua Sand. And it just kind of stuck with me. I first heard it in the 90s. Nobody can remember who the hell did that song. If anybody knows, let us know. We've Google searched. We've actually gone to Terlingua and asked people. But we called her Terlingua Sand because of the irony of being a boat whose home port is the middle of the desert. But it's that tranquil, just chilled out, laid back, nothing attitude. Because that's our favorite thing to do, is take that boat out, sail her, And as soon as the wind starts dying down in the evening, man, throw out the anchor,
Yeah,
bust a bottle of wine, and
just
chill. You know, and when it's time, you go below, you catch some sleep, and you get up the next morning. We fire up the stove, a little French press coffee, watch the sun, and as soon as the wind's blowing again, you know, we dry out all of our shit, wash our clothes, and take off.
How many times have you stayed on your boat overnight?
A lot.
Have you?
Yeah. Now, she's tiny. For 2 people, 3 nights, and you're done. Yeah.
Time to go bathe.
Now, if we're gonna sail, well, I mean, that's in warm weather. You just jump out and get in the water.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah, and the bathroom situation is weird. It's a little portable toilet, you know, so you have to deal with that. But it's tight. But we're pretty rugged, you know, hiking, camping types, so it's not a big deal. But when we go, especially in cold weather, or we're going to be out there for a week, yeah, it's time for a slip in a cabin or a hotel room or something like that.
And it goes, dear, did you not hear me?
Right.
It's time for a slip.
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
cabin.
And my wife and I are both kind of cold-natured now, you know, in our advanced years. And then if you're going to sail for that long, you got to realize it's tough on you, no matter how old you are.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so there was a day, it was 30, I remember the peak, it's in my logs, I looked it up, it was 32 miles an hour.
Good Lord.
28 and change knots. Again, we're back to freaking Oak Creek. And we decided that we were going to go ahead and sail that day. Just to train in high winds. Did we reef? We reefed underway. We did all that shit, man. And I remember at one point, and this is, you know, we're both in really good physical condition. And at one point, we just both said, I'm tired. We gotta.
That's it.
We gotta knock this off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we took her in and sat and took a nap and, you know, ate lunch. But man, this has been great. This is a record. We're an hour and 26 minutes in. Well, now we took a break, so
yeah. Well,
we're gonna come back, dude. We got to do another sailing episode.
Oh, there's too many horror stories.
We have not cracked. Yeah, we have not heard the stories that will make people not want to sail. So
come on, get on my boat. No, hell no.
Yeah. Well, we got to get our boats in the same lake at the same time.
Exactly.
That's gonna be.
Well, and I want you to take the tiller on her.
Yeah, man.
I think you would. You get a hold of her and you're like, cool.
Yeah, our boat's great, but she's in a way she's kind of like a Corvette, a little bit too light for what you're trying to do. You know, it's a great boat. Don't get me wrong.
Oh no.
But yours is, you know, she's solid, well ballasted.
I love the fact that, I mean, we can, after how many years, you know, we get into the same deal and not even know it. But I enjoy someone enjoying my boat too.
Yeah,
you know? I mean that's a thing, you know.
Yeah,
it's not like riding my motorcycle. That's not going to happen.
It's cool. It's cool. People come over, you know, hey, nice boat, you know.
Yeah.
Where's the cooler? But they're people, sailboat people.
Here's the tiller.
Yeah, man. Sailboat people appreciate all that, you know.
And it's something that, like I said, once it gets in your blood, you're like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and it really freaks you out.
It's like I didn't expect it. We didn't rehearse it, but when you were talking about that keel hum, that's. Yeah, man, that's what you're after. Cool. Well, we're going to shut this episode down, man. We're going to call this one Sailing 1 because we're coming back to it. This is fantastic. Yeah, we have not scratched the surface. We're going to show some pictures of the Cordell and some pictures of the Terlingua Sand and some of the adventures and throw some links out there. And if you're interested in sailing or want to talk sailing, I've heard there's a lot of other sailors in West Texas. We'll do a sailing too and bring everybody in here. So.
And everything that I've been self-taught. So don't be mad because I don't know anything,
dude. You know,
I'm all about learning education.
You're doing just fine. You don't understand, man. Your tax dollars sent me to a school to learn how to tie knots and talk like a pirate. Yeah, we had to learn all that stuff. But actually I had to pay for my sailing education, but the rest of it. But no, you're doing fine, brother. Cheers, Cricket Jack, Van Cave. Thank you guys for watching, and we're gonna be back with more sailing stories.
Thank you, sir.
Right on, brother.